Let's continue this week of Locked on NHL in Utah as we take a look at the world stage, the IIHF World Championship. What are some players to watch out for if you are a fan of this Utah hockey club?
You are Locked on NHL in Utah, your daily podcast on all things hockey in Utah, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked on NHL in Utah, your daily podcast on all things hockey in Utah and the NHL in Utah. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet, $100, $150 with any $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. I'm your host, Robyn, and I want to thank everyone so far who's tuned in the last few days, who's been making this show your first listen every day. I highly, encourage all of you guys, if you haven't yet already, to do so, to make this your first listen every day as we set on a path to make sure that you guys are all ready for your new Utah NHL team. On today's episode, we're going to get into some players spotlight-ish in a little bit more. We're going to get you guys up to date and get you to know what's going on with some of the players who you very well will be cheering for, because some of them are still playing, and no, they are not playing the Stanley Cup, of course, no, because they were Coyotes players, and the Coyotes didn't make the playoffs. So these players decided to take it to the world stage, to the 2024 IIHF World Championship games. It happens at around the same time as the Stanley Cup. A lot of NHL players who do not make the Stanley Cup playoffs decide to venture on over to the world stage to keep working on their game. It used to be a lot of, you would get a lot of a lot of high profile players who maybe leave early from the playoffs or whatever it might be. They make it to the world stage. In the case of this, I think it seems to me it's a lot more of the younger players, those that are in their earlier 20s, maybe those that didn't play in the World Junior Championships because they're like a little bit more of either on the older side, or they just didn't get the opportunity to because they're playing for their NHL club or whatever it might be. A lot of players decide to take that opportunity just to, get some May hockey reps and say, hey, let's get that hockey going. Let's keep going on it. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the number of Utah players who are playing on the world stage. I'll be frank with you guys. Not a lot of them have made a significant impact enough for us to really go crazy in depth about it. But I'm going to highlight these players. If you want to go ahead and watch the World Championships, they're still going on. I think we have already had about a week or so of these games going on. They're in the preliminary round, so that bracket part hasn't gone. So this can maybe help sway towards who you want to cheer for. I know if you're not cheering for Team USA, if you're not just saying, hey, I'm going to cheer for my own country, which some people do in the hockey world, some people do because they decided to just cheer on their favorite players. That tends to be the case for a lot of situations, because you know what, in this case, the World Championships is, I'm not saying they're meaningless. I feel like that is a very strong word, and a lot of people, I would get a lot of hate to say they're meaningless, because like I said, it happens at the same time as the Stanley Cup playoffs, and obviously the Stanley Cup playoffs means a whole lot more to these hockey players. Sometimes the world stage means a lot more to others because, hey, some of these players aren't NHLers, some of them are AHLers, some of them play over in Europe, whatever it might be. I know a lot of the focus is making sure you can get the NHL back to playing in the in the Winter Olympics, which is going to be happening in a few years from now. We've had the World Cup of Hockey, which had a decent amount of spin. So a lot less of attention has been put on the World Championships, but it's not to say that it's not to a good measurement of the understanding of what's players to watch out for and players to cheer for in their endeavor to win gold for their own countries. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get into a lot more in depth as much as we can. Again, like I said, not a whole lot of these players have made significant contributions, but I will say we've had, and I'm going to count right now. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players and a coach participating in the World Championship games. So certainly a thing to look forward to if you're an NHL Utah fan. Is like, hey, I want to watch this game because of this player specifically, because I want to know exactly how exciting to watch these players and see, hey, I want to see who's going to be playing well, who's going to be playing for my team. And I want to figure out where to start. I guess the best way just to get things started off, and I'll just start with one team, and then I'll go through a bunch of other players for another before finishing off with the biggest of them all. So we're going to do that all on today's episode. So we'll start off with our own country right here, Team USA. Only one player from the Utah organization has a player representing them, and that is defenseman Michael Kesselring. I want to tell you guys, pay attention to Michael Kesselring because he is going to be a huge contribution to the Utah team. Let me see if I can get his stats from his last season with the Arizona Coyotes. In 65 games played with Arizona, he got 5 goals, 16 assists for 21 points. A plus minus of 11. Plus minus, guys, is a very tough stat to track. I don't like using it all the time. I don't like using it as an end-all, be-all. But for defensemen, I really think it really helps us understand of where they're at, how much time they spend on the ice, how likely, not necessarily how likely, but where is the puck in terms of possession when this player is on the ice. So a plus 11 means that he's did pretty good for himself as a defenseman when you compare him to, let's say, a defenseman from last season like Matt Dumba, who posted a minus 13. So Kesselring played a significant contribution. Sure, he had about 1547 time on ice. In the case of the Team USA, 3 games played as of right now, 1 goal, 1 assist, just 2 points and a +1. So still going in that positive on that plus. And also it's a 1 game winning goal, it looks like. So he in one of the games that he did play, bringing Team USA a win, got a game winning goal. I definitely say if you're going to cheer for somebody, Michael Kesselring is one of the ones to do it. He is one of the young players, one of the players that you definitely want to watch out for because he can make a significant contribution, as I mentioned earlier, for Utah come the next year, the next couple years, whatever it might be. So that is for Team USA. We got coming up. I'm going to go through players for 3 other teams, 3 other countries, and then finish off with 1 more country. But we're going to get to that right after we get a quick word from our sponsors on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Policygenius. So bring this up right here. There we go. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. So Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Your work-life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance with thousands of five-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found their best fit for their needs. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes to see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Let's continue things right here on Locked On NHL in Utah. Getting your guide, your Utah guide to the IIHF World Junior. Sorry, not Junior, just the World Championships. Juniors happened over the holidays and starting after Christmas, going through New Year's. That's a whole different ordeal. We got the World Championships. I'm talking about players and other individuals who are part of the Utah organization represented in this year's World Championship games. Once again, this is happening alongside the Stanley Cup playoffs. So if you're deciding, hey, you know what, I don't want to watch the Stanley Cup this year, which fine if that's your decision. I just want to pay attention to potential players who will be on my team. Cool. That's a great idea to do that. There are 3 players to watch out for players other than U.S. and Canada. And again, Canada I will talk about in a little bit later. Playing for Slovakia, you got Milos Kelemen. Kelemen played a decent amount of time for Yes, Kelemen played for a decent amount of time for the Tucson Roadrunners. So you might be saying, hey, not making as much of an impact. Let me see if I can find his info on here as I bring up. In 54 games played, 16 goals, 16 assists, 32 points for the Tucson Roadrunners. So not a bad season. I feel like he, was definitely, I think, a little bit further up there, made a pretty big impact, a little bit over half a point per game, posting a +2 for, let me see if I can find his, I have a lot of tabs open, guys, so, bear with me here. In the World Juniors, and it seems like I'm having a hard time finding it because there's so much going on. I do have a lot going on here. I never able to find his stats for some reason or another. But I'm actually missing one player though. I do want to add one more too, because Patrick Koch, also playing for Team Slovakia, and I do have his stats up on here. Also played for the Tucson Roadrunners. 63 games played, 1 goal, 14 assists for 15 points, +4. He's a defenseman, so don't need to worry too much about his offensive production unless you're looking for offensive-minded defenseman, which isn't the end-all be-all. You can get some good just in general puck-moving defensemen, or you can get stay-at-home defensemen. That's all fine. So he spent most of his time with the Tucson Roadrunners. He is under contract with Utah, so that's why I brought his name up there. With Team Slovakia, he has in 3 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. So just about the same as the other, as I mentioned with Michael Kesselring. And I finally want to bring up Milos Kelemen because he did make a bigger impact in 3 games played, 2 goals and 2 assists for Team Slovakia, 4 points with 10 penalty minutes. It's kind of a fun one if you want to mention that one, with a +1, with 1 game-winning goal as well. So 2 players representing Team Slovakia for the for the Utah Hockey Club, for this Utah NHL team coming from there. So there could be a potential team you want to follow. Maximilian Zuber playing for Team Germany. I feel like Zuber made some pretty good rounds when we made a impact first entering in to the Tucson Roadrunners. Played 70 games with them this year, 7 goals, 21 assists for 28 points total, with a plus minus of 14. And again, I want to reiterate, I'm only mentioning the plus minus as a baseline for you guys to kind of compare where they're at with possession metrics, how often they had the puck during this last season with their NHL/AHL club. Zuber could very well make an impact down the road for Utah, so pay attention to him. With Team Germany, not much of an impact. Honestly, I don't think Team Germany as a whole is making that much of an impact in the World Championships, so it's not a whole lot of surprise. Just 1 game played with no points, any -1. I don't, honestly, guys, I will not let that make that as any negative marks on Zuber. I got a chance to watch him play in Tucson a couple times, and he is a phenomenal player. But you can still cheer on for him for as long as he might be in the tournament. Who knows? It might just be a couple more games left before the preliminary round ends. But certainly, again, an option if that's who you want to cheer for. In Team Czechia, I feel like that is the next big one, like the outside of US and Canada, as a player who can make a significant impact in Kirill Vejmelka. It's not really started in any games yet as a goalkeeper for Czechia, because he's one of many goaltenders, and there is, again, only so many amount of games to be played. So it's not necessarily a big situation that he hasn't played for any games. But if we want to take a look at his stats, so we can get an understanding of how he played for the Coyotes last season. He started for 58 games, 13 wins, 19 losses, with a .897 save percentage, and if we bring his goals against average right here, a 3.35. Not gonna lie, Vejmelka did not have a good much season for Arizona last year, as many expected. He had a pretty solid year the previous couple years. Again, I am not going to let that deter you guys on your thoughts about him. Maybe he develops over this offseason, has a significant offseason, and gets better as gets ready for first season in Utah come this fall. So, but certainly a thing to look forward to. So if you want something to cheer for, even though he hasn't played a game, Team Czechia could be your option. It's like, hey, I'm going to cheer for Czechia because I want to cheer for Kirill Vejmelka. That could very well be an option for you, once again, even though he still hasn't yet to play a game. But what I want to get to is the team that I feel like many of you probably already have had your eyes on, because everyone knows who that team is. We're going to get to that right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel is giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, I want to finish off this idea right here, and it goes to that little point I have here at the end on the bottom here if you're watching on YouTube, where it says all eyes on Canada, because I feel like if you are a fan of this Utah team, maybe Canada might be the team that you are looking at the most for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, Dylan Guenther is representing Team Canada. Let's see if we have his stats on here. 3 games played, 2 assists, 2 points at a +1. Sure, maybe not of a significant impact yet. Again, there's only been a few games played total. Let's see how many games played we have. We've had total in the not a whole lot. Not a whole lot of games played. As you can say, as many of them has only had 3, maybe 4 games played. So a very small sample size on the world stage, and that goes for every other player I have mentioned in their opportunity to show what they can do in the world stage. But I feel like, Gunther, once again, still that player to watch out for, because you take a look at what he did specifically for the Arizona Coyotes this last season. As I bring up his stats one more time, if I can get it up here. Ever since he got called up from Tucson, 45 games played, 18 goals, 17 assists for 35 points, a -1 with 16 time on ice per game. So definitely getting significant ice time, was a significant role player for Arizona, and certainly a significant role player for Tucson as well in his 29 games played with 28 points, 10 goals, and 18 assists. And honestly, I feel like the player that shined the most for the Tucson Roadrunners in the Calder Cup playoffs. So that certainly is a mark heavily in the direction for Dylan Gunther, once again for Team Canada. But it doesn't stop there, because also Jack McBain, also representing Team Canada in his 3 games played, just 1 assist, and posting a +1. McBain was a huge part of the Coyotes organization as well. Let's see if I can get his stats from last season. And 67 games played, 8 goals, 18 assists, 26 points, posting a +8 with just 12.37 time on ice per game. He was a role player, a middle 6 to bottom 6 role player who really helped a lot of the younger guys grow and kind of helped them get their feet under as they adjusted to the big stage, the NHL. And even though McBain himself is one of the younger players, just a couple years ago, being coming in from college, getting signed out of college, and being still a young kid. He's only 24 years old, but he's still fitting perfectly in that role player position, which you can definitely look forward to seeing him do more, and maybe even make a significant impact in a couple years down the road for Utah. What I really want to get to, guys, and this is maybe what you're wondering, is like, why am I saying that Team Canada might be the one to pay attention to the most? And it's because of their coach, Andre Tourigny, who is the head coach now for Team Canada, as well as the head coach for this NHL in Utah club. And this is his 2nd season already as a head coach for Team Canada in the world stage. Tourigny had brought Canada to the gold medal last year, and been a part of Team Canada as an assistant coach in previous years before then. So he knows how to build a winning team. He knows how to coach a winning team, based off of his experience not on the world stage. And you notice what he did in the last couple of years in Arizona, turning a team from practically nothing to one that looked like it could potentially have made the playoffs. Tourigny as a coach, has been a force to be reckoned with. I feel like that is certainly a player to cheer on for, because you're like, all right, this coach is continuing to get experience as a coach and is going to continue to get better as Utah gets better, as all their players get better. And it's really shown. There's a reason why he was signed an extension, and while still with Arizona, just over the last offseason, because he has made that much of an impact already. So if you're going to cheer for anybody, honestly, cheer for Torrene because he has been phenomenal and has done nothing but great for the organization already. So that might be your person to cheer on for. But let me know who you're cheering on for. Are you cheering on for our own home country, for Team USA? Are you cheering on for Canada because of a player like Andre Tourigny or Dylan Guenther, or somebody else because of any other reason? Please let us know, because I want to kind of know who you are cheering for. Once again, a lot of these players that I mentioned either are going to make an impact for Utah down the road, or already have made an impact for Utah, and they're only going to continue to grow from here. So once again, just let us know. Let me know who you think, might be the biggest spotlight of a player. Maybe you're not even cheering for any country specifically. Maybe, let's say this: you're cheering for Team USA, of course. But you know what? I'm going to cheer for Maximilian Zuber because, the young kid trying to do what he can for Team Germany. Or I'm going to cheer for Dylan Guenther because we're going to have, he is one of the true future players of this organization. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Who are you cheering for in the World Championship game? Maybe, as we get closer to the championship game itself, the gold medal game, we'll get a little more in depth on, where a little bit more of a sample size of those players, and we can get to, who, where we're at. Where are we at in those, on the cheering on of those players? Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Locked On NHL in Utah. Coming up later this week and next week, we're going to start getting into some player spotlights, some specific player spotlights. Maybe you are completely new to cheering on this team. You haven't followed the Coyotes in the past. You want to know what these specific star players are like to cheer on for. Who are those players, and what else you want to look forward to as you get ready to begin this journey as a fan of the NHL in Utah. We'll get to that later this week and starting next week as well. We'll bring in other hosts or other guests on this show to kind of help me break that down and to give you guys a little bit of variety, because maybe some of you guys just don't want to hear me talking for 30 minutes straight for 5 days in a row. Maybe you do. If you do, I mean, that's good on you, I guess. That's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On NHL in Utah podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube, Sirius XM, ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnNHL in Utah. On X, currently still at LO_Coyotes. That, once again, that is due to change pretty soon. We are in the process of figuring out, what it best is for you guys. So stay tuned on that part. I am still at Robyn_Leano. It's Robyn with the Y_LEANO. Interact with us. Ask us any question. We might answer right back, or in a future episode of the Locked On NHL in Utah podcast. Well, thanks again to everyone once again for listening to today's episode. We'll see you guys next time.